when I... Okay. Got it? All right. Can you hear me okay? Say something so I can make sure my headphones are working.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect. Okay, I just switched my I switched which side the cord was on. Yes, so okay. All right, and now let's go back to the show. And okay, that's not the right one. There we go.
Oh.
World of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters. There are those who watch and watch and watch and do not interfere, for it is not their way. They are the watchers, and this is Nuff Said. Avast me, hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I'm your host, Charlie the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Welcome, Mozz. Welcome to tonight's episode. What if the world lost its mightiest heroes? Nick Fury struggles to launch the Avengers when candidates are targeted by our serial killer.
But who is that killer?
We're going to find out. Director Brian Andrews, writers A.C. Bradley, Matthew Chauncey was our story editor. Jack Kirby, of course, created Captain America, along with a little help from Joe Simon. And that's everybody, man. Matthew Chauncey, he's got the double duty today, written by and story editor by, because the man just has a lot of work to do. All right, Mozz, this episode. It is
depressing.
Quite an adventure. Well, actually, no. I found it quite cheerful. I mean, yes, it's terrible business that the Avengers all dying. Yes. Hey, you know what?
Good time.
Well, I love the ending. That's what I'm going to say. You know, here's what I'll say. Okay, so this episode opens up during what is known as Fury's Big Week. And this was a backup MCU comic that basically stated that all of the events of The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, and Thor basically took place in a week. And it's interesting because you really see how compressed this timeline was. Because you even get a reference to Phil telling Iron Man in Iron Man 2, yeah, Fury needs me out in New Mexico. So, in this episode, we sort of see everything that's going on, and after that scene, we get Tony having his house party, having his breakdown, and sitting in the giant donut, and that's when this story opens up with Fury bringing Natasha in for this mission to sort of help out Tony. But what happens is things kind of go poorly because when Natasha goes to inject him with the chemical that's to sort of help him from dying of, I think, was it palladium poisoning?
Palladium poison. Lithium is what they gave him.
Yeah.
Thought they were giving him.
Yeah, he up and dies, and it's not clear was this a bad reaction to lithium,
The initial sense that I got was that Tony was already working on some sort of experimental treatment for himself that they did not know about, and that counteracted. That's what my thought was initially at that point. Oh, they weren't aware that he was already fixing the problem, and they were so arrogant in thinking that we can fix it that they didn't even bother to think like, hey, he might have something. It's a silly idea. And boom, and it interacts with something he's working on, and all of a sudden he dies.
Yeah, and generally speaking, no matter how certain you are, you should not just randomly inject people with things. It's like, well, your heart's in the right place. That's why we're like not shooting people with the vaccine right now. It's because you know what? As much as we may think that's a good idea, it's not to just randomly inject people with things. Yeah. So yes, and that gets, of course, Nat arrested. Though honestly, I don't necessarily know why, because again, there are all these other possibilities. But
at the same time, Fury explains it well. Listen, there's procedures. Right.
Yeah.
You have to follow procedures for a reason, because if you don't follow procedures, these are the little doorways that are left open for the bad guys to escape if you don't follow procedures.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And obviously she is a high risk target. She's not a U.S. national, yada, yada, yada. She could fade right back into that Black Widow system without any trouble. But, we get this very nice, and it's nice to see Frank Grillo back as Rumlow, and this, especially talking smack about Natasha. I don't even know what it is. I mean, sure, she can land a punch, but that's only because no one's expecting it. And then you basically see her while she's in cuffs. Yeah, everyone's expecting it, and gets out of her cuffs, smacks everybody around because she's just that awesome.
At the same time, that's also like either credit to her spycraft that you don't see the punch coming, or it points to that you're that dumb.
Yeah,
you don't know who she is, that you don't expect the punch to be coming. Like, it's one of those two things, right?
Yeah. Well, and what it is really. What I would say is, I mean, on some level, yeah, with Romo, the too dumb to expect it. But it's like in this situation, it is that these are all guards who are told, be on your guard. This is Romanoff. She is that good. She's going to try and get out. And immediately, it just hands the cuffs to the guy. So, what?
Holy.
Yes, so she does escape, as you do,
and tap in the elevator scene again. This is really
yeah, except she didn't say anyone want to get out before we start this.
Right.
I guess that's Cap was a gentleman about it.
That's only a luxury you have when you're Captain America. When you're just like a really adept human, you don't have the luxury of that kind of like playfulness.
Yes. Well, true. Although, there's something in the Widow stuff. They weren't, they're not strictly speaking human level, The Widow program, they were trying to do stuff. But as we know now, although we always did know that. But moving forward with this, we have her escaping. We have what's going on in New Mexico. It was New Mexico, right? Yeah, New Mexico. Where Phil finds the hammer. No, then she goes to Virginia.
It was either, I think it was New Mexico. It could have been Arizona, but I think it was New Mexico.
Yeah, and we get the perimeter set up around New Mexico around the hammer, and of course Thor coming. Smashing his way through, and then getting hit by Barton. And I get a lot of people saying, Thor shouldn't have gone down from an arrow. First off, it's likely a diamond-tipped arrow. Arrows do not flatten the way bullets do when they hit, so they actually, if it is a strong enough bow and a sharp enough arrow with a strong enough head, it will go through, it will go through an Asgardian, clearly. Because clearly, Asgardians use arrows,
And it's not like it was just any arrow. Whoever planned this knew who that arrow was meant for.
Yeah.
And whoever planned this is obviously incredibly smart and adept. And he would know what that arrow needed to be tipped with in order to penetrate a Thor.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, and, I bought. I mean, I don't necessarily buy Thor is dead per se.
Fair enough.
Because
I dig it.
He's a god. It's different for gods. The same way, I do not for a second buy that Hulk's out of the game. You know, what we see happens.
But how? I mean, does he coalesce like the Terminator 2? Or?
Part of it, the rest of him grows a whole other Hulk.
So then we'll have like a million Hulks from all the...
No. Usually it's just, usually the rule is it goes around the head. His head didn't change. It's just his chest exploded. So arguably, and it was blown up from the inside out. So it's like his organs exploded. But that sort of suggests that, I guess the rest of his body is all in one, like his spine's still there, his legs are just fine, his head's there.
Yeah, I mean, but I know he's super strong, but I didn't know he had a healing factor.
Oh, he's got as strong a healing factor as Wolverine.
Does he now?
Oh yeah, actually, some argue even yeah. Wolverine's. I mean, in the comics, it's actually interesting because there was a recently. I don't know how much other people have embraced this, but like Wolverine's healing factor comes from the fact that he is like born of Gaia kind of thing, and so long as Gaia exists, his healing factor exists.
Whoa, I never knew there was that sort of connection. I just
yeah. Wow. Well, eventually they connect everybody. Eventually, So yeah, that's what Wolverine. But for the Hulk, it's just he's the Hulk, and yeah, I mean they have had him in the comics as an example, have his skin flayed off and just have it grow back. Oh. So people kill the Hulk all the time, but even right now, the whole plot line of the Hulk is immortal. That he can die, but he always comes back. Right. And it's sort of like there is the green door, and it swings both ways, as they say. At the same time, that of course is with Natasha going to I don't forget what it's called again, but it's the university in West Virginia that they always go to, Culver University, where Peter Parker's science teacher went. Yes, he's the guy with the pizza, who in the novelization was listed as Amadeus Cho, but is not actually the Amadeus Cho in the MCU. So it's an interesting thing that's where you get those differences between novelizations are not canonical. Remember that, kids, because it'll come back to bite you in the butt later. But anyway. That actor, of course, is not in this episode of What If, unfortunately. But who we do get is, I believe we get the actress who played Betty Banner back. I think that's her. I forget who she was in the film.
It was Liv Tyler, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Liv Tyler. Oh no, it wasn't her. That was actually Stephanie Penicello. So they did not get Liv Tyler back for that. So
right. Because it didn't look like her, it didn't sound like her, but it was supposed to be her.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, neither does Banner. Which is maybe it's the variant thing. He looks like him, but isn't really him. And they actually there was actually talk about seeing if they could get not Mark Ruffalo, but Ed Norton back for it. But I guess for whatever reason, it would have been cool to have it. But they tried to, when they drew Mark Ruffalo's face, they kind of sort of merged certain aspects of Mark Ruffalo's face and Ed Norton's face, and it's like you can see it sort of looks a little like if Mark Ruffalo and Ed Norton had a baby. So,
what an amazing actor that would be.
Yes, it would be. Honestly, I've always liked Ed Norton's
one of my favorites.
Banner. Yeah, I mean, I love Mark Ruffalo too. Mark Ruffalo to me is more like the David Banner character than the actual comic book Bruce Banner.
Interesting.
And I feel that's sort of why they cast him, because he has certain physicality markers that bring him closer to Bill Bixby. When you think about as this, quite frankly, as this suave ladies man that Bill Bixby was, he got so much tail in that series, and compared to Ed Norton, who made him, because he can do a ripped guy too, but he's always a thinner guy and a slighter build guy, more like the comic book Bruce Banner. And and that guy makes a point about not getting tail.
Right. And I think that was a choice that they made to sort of show the drastic difference between the Hulk and this wiry little scientist dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at American History X, he was pretty jacked for that.
Oh yeah. But even then, he's wiry. He's not.
For sure.
Yeah, he's not like, he doesn't look like Hulk Hogan. He doesn't look. He doesn't look like.
He's not a thick human.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, exactly, and that's fine. That's some people. And honestly, you never want to get in a fight with a wiry guy.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that as a big guy, a wiry guy. Yeah, you think you can take him, but yes, oh yeah, you do not want to mess with Bruce Lee. Oh boy, have you seen Shang-Chi yet?
Oh my God.
That's a good movie.
I might be suffering from a severe case of recency bias, but in my opinion, it's top 3 Marvel movies all time for me.
Oh yeah, it is amazing. But we're going to be talking about,
it's big, it's epic, and every note sings and not out of place. The culture is treated with respect, and it's the first time I've seen a movie where this art of fighting with chi looks good and makes sense, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It just seemed too cartoonish and too outlandish. Those movements and but here it seemed grounded and real, and there was gravity to the things that they moved. Action sequences are insane. The hand-to-hand combat was the best I've ever seen. Everything, I loved every single thing about that movie. I thought it was amazing. I can't wait to go see it again tonight. I saw it yesterday.
Yes.
I'm going to see it again tonight in 3D.
Are you gonna be able to do the review on Capes and Lunatics tonight at 5:30 or no?
I don't think so.
Oh well. So here you have his review. It is great.
Yeah. Side note, but yeah, amazing movie.
Yes. Tell you what, if you want, you can always call into our Capes and Lunatics
call-in line.
Which is, I want to say it's 867-34-CAPES. And leave a quick review of what you want to say about it, and we will play it on the air. And 34 Capes. Yeah, Capes. CAPES. I don't know.
You just gave me
867. No, 34 Capes. Yeah, 867 is the area code. 34 CAPES.
That's 8 digits.
7. There's 7 digits. Actually, 10 digits in a phone number.
Right.
So there's 34, and then the C, and then APES, and then it's 867.
Dig it.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to ask Phil real quick about that.
In this episode.
Who else dies in this episode? Well, sadly, Clinton Barton does. And that is actually one of the, and that was the one that really threw me, because I really thought it was Loki doing the murders at this point. So I'm just confirming something here. Yeah, because he's in a locked room and he dies, and of course, in the original Thor movie, we see Loki just walk into this locked room. Same kind of cell, too, And so I was thinking, oh, man, is Loki doing these murders because he just, knocks out, as if he was like a Hydra agent and just bit it down on his cyanide, but that's not what it was at all. But then, of course...
it almost seems like it's something Loki would do, like sacrifice his brother so that he could take over the world, over Midgard.
Yeah.
So that would have been a much more attractive plot thread than what they went with. I think. Sacrifice, sent his brother down here and got him killed, and so he could take. That would make more sense.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, I don't. Like I said, I think that. I mean, I think it could make sense, but I think that's too many steps. Because in his mind, I get the feeling he felt that, oh, you know what? I got him out of the way. He's on Earth. He's not going to be worthy to get his hammer. And I can now take over once Odin's in his Odin sleep, which is what happens in this film, because you will notice when Loki does arrive, he does say he is the rightful heir to Jotunheim, meaning that he already has learned of his secret lineage, which is why he can wield the Casket of Winters.
And when he creates, a home for himself, it's all icy.
Mm-hmm. He's like the male Elsa. Let it go, let it go. But I love, and of course we do get Lady Sif back again in this. We're all friends again, so she's back. Given only a couple lines of dialogue, but they're letting you know, hey, Sif's here. Sif's part of the story. And, basically when Fury says, the person who killed your people killed my people too. I want them just as bad as you do. And it's interesting because when we think about it, at the end of this, that person does get caught. Spoilers. Okay, actually, it's 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES is the phone number to leave a voicemail for,
I'll get it again at the end. For anybody else listening, you want to leave a review, that's the number you call.
Yes, or if you just want to call us and tell us about this show, because I have to start saying that in the show, because I should.
Well, there we go.
Because that is our very important phone number here at the Capes and Lunatics podcast. In fact, you can use that number for any Capes and Lunatics podcast. But moving right along, the thing is I think that Loki wasn't planning on invading Earth. I think this was an opportunity that presented itself because Thor died. Because I don't think he expected Thor to die. He expected him to wander the Earth, as a...
Yeah, I'm sure he's had several attempts at killing Thor unsuccessfully, so he's probably given up Wile E. Coyote style at this point.
Yeah, well, and hey, for what it's worth, Kid Loki did. Kid Loki pulled it off, so, man, I hope we see Kid Loki again. He doesn't die before the end, so, I think we might get Kid Loki back before the end of it. And, but the thing is that we do see that Natasha does get into the S.H.I.E.L.D. files to access the Avengers files. We realize that Phil was the other person who had access to this. And he needs his password, which is Steve, I heart Steve, 3472 or so. Yes.
0704, which is his
0704. Oh, yes, there you go. He does like Steve. He is.
Yes, that's right.
And he also likes Thor. He smells like lavender, which is, even Denny smells like lavender. Which again is why I think maybe he's not dead.
Not dead, right.
Yeah, exactly. He's just in Thor's sleep. Just like Odin's in Odin's sleep.
Nanoparticles working their magic. They smell like lavender, it's just a thing.
Yeah, exactly. And Loki probably knows that, so he's like also maybe even biding his time with this. But they realize who is at threat, and after Black Widow realizes this, she calls Fury, let him know it's all about hope. Which, I don't know if that was the most effective way to say it.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, it's Hank Pym! Hank Pym's killing everyone!
Yeah.
Yeah, although I guess there is maybe the argument that she doesn't know that it's Hank Pym. She just knows it's someone using Pym tech.
Maybe she knows it is Hope.
Yeah, that it's Hope, or that it's someone else who has access to Pym tech, who maybe also, what's his name? Darian Cross would have had access to all this stuff as well, and clearly had an uncomfortable relationship with Hope.
Is Janet Van Dyne still trapped in the quantum realm in this?
At this point, yes. At this point, because obviously Hank still thinks she's dead.
Right.
So, so as she's fighting this mollified person, maybe she resists the best clue to give him in this moment. Although it's an interesting thing because they do make the point that, did you catch where Hope Van Dyne died? In Odessa. And the last time Romanoff, Black Widow, was in Odessa, she got shot by the Winter Soldier because she was protecting her asset with her body, and the Winter Soldier shot through Black Widow and killed the asset.
You think that asset?
And in this one, obviously, he did this. No, the asset was a Ukrainian scientist. In this one, they sent Hope instead of Natasha because in the regular MCU, Hope did not become a SHIELD agent. She was not active in SHIELD at the time. So in this one, she was, and so when they sent her on the extraction, and in that one, the Winter Soldier shot through her as well, he actually wound up killing her. So that's the fan theory that's out there, because that's the last time we got a mention of Odessa. More at play in this, we don't see that Natasha is dead either. Where it's implied, but it's an off-screen death. So, again, she has a coffin at the end. Fury had a coffin too. So it's always that thing. Maybe we are, maybe we have to.
Fury, or is that still like a Kree replicant?
Skrull replicant. No, those I don't think Fury was switching out with a Skrull, although we don't know until more recently. But heck, it's entirely possible that Fury has been up on that space station for the last decade in his little beach scenario, and only comes down when he feels like it. And we haven't really seen real Fury in years, which would fit with a lot of what we often think about with Fury, which is that it's always an LMD. It's never actually Fury.
I guess the same could apply for Coulson too.
Yeah, well, now, I so hope we get Coulson back. Like I said, if they don't give me Max Coulson, I will accept an actual Phil Coulson who didn't die, or who, like, that there was a time shift, and that once they went to the future and came back, that that gives the shifting of time, and then you don't have to have Max Coulson. But I would really love for Phil Coulson to come back as an LMD with superhuman strength. Yeah. I thought that was cool. And if nothing else, I want Melinda back. I want Fitz and Simmons back. And for what I'll say this: for those people, talking about like, who's in and who's, they could have brought back Ming-Na Wen as an actress in Shang-Chi very easily if they wanted to give her a new character.
Right, but why burn that character?
Well, exactly. This is what I always say. There's a lot of times they'll make an active choice not to do something, and I think that's it's like with jazz. You got to listen for the notes they're not playing. And it's like there's always these little things that's like, all these famous people. You've got, Ming-Na Wen, who is both beloved in Marvel, beloved in Disney. If you said we're never using these characters again, this is the time we're going to bring her in, make her the auntie, and granted there's reasons maybe not to do that too, but it works in this scene. So it's conspicuous by its absence. But anyway, getting back to this, we get this. Fury realizes, because he's about to call Carol, which actually it's an interesting thing because it is this kind of thing where you realize he always has that. Although he keeps it in the car, which I think is maybe not the best place to keep it. It's like, because it's like, I gotta get to the car. And it's like, maybe you should keep that on your person or something.
Right, that's what you do with a pager. You keep it on your belt. Come on now.
Yes. But he, he goes to get it, and he debates it, and chooses not to. He chooses not to do it, and
that's when the Hope reference lands on him. He's like, "Oh, wait a second! I have one more card to play before I have to do this."
Exactly, and that is the crux of the biscuit. And he goes to it actually raises the question: has he ever done that before? Because that's the thing. It's like, call me in an emergency. It doesn't say you can only do it once. It's like, no, you can do it as many times as you want. Just but just make sure it's an emergency. There's a big universe. There's a big galaxy I got to work on.
Right, and you don't want her to have the impression that he is haphazard with her calling him, because then when it matters, it'll be the boy who cried wolf.
Exactly. So he decides not to do it, and then he goes to make a deal with the devil, or to what do you say? Either to bargain with a god or make a deal with the devil, And little from column A, little from column B, really. He gets, and then basically you have you see Fury at Hope's gravesite, which makes Hank Pym mad. We get our big Hank Pym reveal where he's clearly not been well. I think that's one thing we can say. Those eyebrows alone say this man is not well. And he basically, and immediately when you know something's up is when he does the, Ant-Man punch. And Fury just smacks him back. And he's like, you're pretty spry for a guy who's been behind a desk. Fury does the cartwheel kick and all these kind of things. It's pretty good. And then, pretty quickly you start to realize, I think that's not really Fury. Yeah. And it is just everyone's favorite Loki, ready to just tell us all about how
ease our pain,
how you made a bad mistake
of the dynamic of choice. We don't need it. It only hurts us. Come on, get on board.
But this is the thing. Well, that is the conquered the world in just one day thing. Because that is actually the thing I think. He forms new injuries. He gets his cap. He's got who does he have? Because he has Phil. He has Captain Marvel. They got Captain America. This would be a great time to introduce Fitz and Simmons on tech. They can get Rhodey, because Rhodey does have, at this point, Rhodey would already have the War Machine armor. The Abomination is still out there. If they need some muscle, we have an Abomination. They said, I have an army. We have an Abomination. But here's the thing I think that most people overlook in this. We're assuming Loki is going to be a bad leader. And this is what I kind of get to. It's like Loki just conquered the world in a day. And he doesn't have the Mind Stone at this point. This is pure, maybe he's doing some ensorceling or something, but most likely he's actually just making the case, listen, your planet is about to be, you have a Tesseract. You are a planet that is about to get involved in some major stuff. You need an ally. I'll be honest with you, I'm a very hands-off leader. But I'm going to make... No, he is. We saw him running Asgard. Basically, I want a big gold statue, and I want to play about how wonderful I am, and I would like to eat grapes. We have grapes and nuts. That's what we have in Asgard. And the idea that, he might let all the governments of the world basically have peace, and then the Asgardians just, when someone tries to overthrow a country, he goes in and he just smacks them down. Because, quite frankly, all we want is a stable government in all the worlds, and everyone to respect each other's borders, and then everyone can just do their thing, and nobody has to try and be the policeman of the world, because Loki's going to be the policeman of the world. The actual policeman of the world, who's like, everyone, do as you're told, and we won't have a problem.
Right.
You will all have sovereignty. You can all run your countries however you darn well please, but don't make me come down there.
Right.
And so, benevolent potentate Loki might be the best thing we ever have, which is, one of those things where it's like, Fury may form the Avengers, but it's like maybe nobody wants him to overthrow Loki. It's like we have peace. We finally have peace on the planet. Yeah, what? We have to build a statue to our space god so that he doesn't destroy us. But aside from that, he's not really looking to destroy us.
Yeah.
It's not like he's mining the earth for its riches. Exactly. I mean, if we have any Infinity Stones, he'd like to take possession of them. And quite frankly, those things are more trouble than they're worth.
Yeah.
And now we have tourism to space. So, we can go visit Asgard, luxurious Asgard, and get advanced Asgardian technology to, for health. And
Asgardian magic mixed with our penchant for technology could be the next big boon for society. Like the
exactly on every level. It's like it's a win-win. Why are you fighting this, Fury? But that's something we'll see in the next episode. All right, Mozz, I hope you have enjoyed talking about this. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode?
It was not fun watching Iron Man die.
Yeah,
and like this is gonna be a ragtag group of whoever they bring together. I mean, they do have Captain America, so I mean that is some like solid leadership, but without
but
Iron Man, it's gonna be difficult.
Well, I mean, and here's things to consider. First off, we still got Fitz and Simmons. We have Hank Pym still. He's in Asgardian jail. But maybe we're going to go do a jailbreak. So we need someone who can be a Stark-level intellect. Who in the world is a Stark-level intellect? Well, the last Stark-level intellect we had was the guy who just tried to kill us. And maybe it's where they start finding all these other super genius characters throughout the Marvel Universe. Maybe they go to Wakanda. Because that's the thing. Like when he says he conquered the world, we're going to assume that it includes Wakanda, which tells me that Wakanda only said, "Yes, you can. You can rule this."
Or he's not aware of Wakanda because they have like this shield over it that makes it invisible too. So I wonder if he is aware that Wakanda even exists.
Well, I mean, the Ravagers were aware, so I mean, I would say he's more than aware, and also knows he doesn't want to mess with Wakanda.
Yeah.
So he probably showed up Wakanda and says, "Could I please speak with King T'Chaka? Hello, fellow ruler. You, like I, understand the importance of a strong king."
He probably would have just left them alone, or like if they were somehow under the impression that he couldn't see them, he's like, "Well, great. Then they probably won't have any reason to mess with me until I actually poke at the hornet's nest." So if they just want to be, I'll just let them be and not say nothing.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
well, like I said, I think in order to
let the affairs of the outside world run their course without interference. They're much like the Watcher in that sense too. So,
yeah. But I have to think that much like like I said, I don't think China and Russia are just going to bow to Loki, let alone America bowing to Loki, without some understanding that basically what we're going to do is we're going to get everybody else off your back.
Right.
You can run your country however you want.
They don't really care what happens to the rest of the world. As long as Wakanda's fine, they don't really care. So, I mean, like, as long as Loki's smart enough to stay out of their way, it's like, hey, you can have your little sovereign bubble. That's cool. It's like a little pimple I'll just deal with.
Yeah, or you can just let it be, because what does he need? Does he need all that vibranium? No, he's got Uru. He's got Uru mines to deal with, It's
as long as you don't give up my works, I'm fine. And the Wakandans is Zionistic in that sort of way, where they would just sit back and be like, yeah, we don't care about those people. Go ahead.
Yeah, and like I said, I really think that it is just that idea that we're all on the same page. So that's why I said, to me, it's a really interesting that he does it in one day, and that there is not some big, Norse force invading the Norse force. The Norse force invading. That. Yes, I think that it is just that, everyone just said, yeah, okay. Sounds good. We'll allow it. But anyway, I like this episode. I like that we're getting that darker tone. Because for what it's worth, that is always what ifs are, is that we're like, what if things happen differently? What if the good guys didn't win that one time? And what if maybe the good guys died? And how does that affect us? Because, it basically understands it's only Deus Ex Machina that we're here anyway. So what if the Deus Machina a different way? And that's what we're seeing. And it's really exciting. And I'm looking forward to talking about the next episode, which will certainly be a cheery romp through the multiverse, as we've gotten used to at this point.
Indeed.
I kind of get the feeling that, after that really super uplifting T'Challa episode as Star-Lord, which also has a real dark turn at the end, I get the feeling this idea, and that maybe opens up this idea that we're going to get to when we get to those Guardians of the Multiverse, and the idea that maybe not every universe gets to survive. So we'll talk about that next week. In the meantime, Mozz, if people would like to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzoor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzoor. That's MOZZ MANZOOR.
And of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our mothers and fathers once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And follow me on Twitter as I live tweet things, which I don't know when I'll be able to do it next, because Locast has shut down services, which means I can no longer easily watch Channel 11 because it's not on my broadcast or on my antenna right now. So I can't watch CW shows live. But when I can, you can follow me at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality.
Thank you, Mozz. In the meantime, if you do want to talk to us, please call us at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. Not that wrong number I gave earlier. And then when you do, please leave your thoughts. For those who sit in darkness, for those who only watch and never interfere, you may still speak and say, "Enough said." Landlubbers have come to the end of another glorious trip down the bounding main of the internet. I hope you kept your life preservers safe and dry, and you'll come back again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arrgh. Okay.
Right on. All right, let me stop the recording here.